If you've ever wondered whether you're neurodivergent or just felt like you see the world a little differently, you're not alone. I was diagnosed autistic at 25, and suddenly, so many things I never had words for started to make sense. Here, I share the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful parts of life through an autistic lens. My name is Elena Carroll, and if you're looking for answers, understanding, or just an autistic friend, you're in the right place. Have you noticed how many autistic people end up in long-distance relationships? I definitely have, and I don't believe that it is a coincidence. For reference, I am somebody that is now entering into my fourth long-distance relationship. I have been in 3 previous relationships / situationships in my life, and it's not that I am jumping for joy wanting to be away from the person that I want to be with. It's not that I want to be away from them, especially now that I am with somebody that I am experiencing really true, authentic love with. But I guess what I am trying to say is that I don't think I'm scared off by them. Like, it's not a deal breaker. I know that a lot of autistic people feel this way, and so today I am going to be discussing that, the correlation between autism and long distance relationships, the positives, the negatives. I'm also going to be talking about tips in order to care for your partner based on their love language if they are neurodivergent, and also tips on how not to spiral, because I am particularly good at doing that myself. So let's jump into it. What is the correlation? Why do autistic people tend to be drawn a little bit more to long distance relationships? Why are we not scared off as neurotypical people are? Well, for one, I think that there is a predictability to long distance relationships. There's a structure to long distance relationships. In order to maintain that love, you need to communicate. And if you're working on 2 different schedules, 2 different lives, 2 different time zones, 2 different countries, like I am in my case, then you need to kind of implement routines. And so every week at this point, me and my girlfriend are kind of going through our days, our weeks, what our week is looking like, and trying to align like a date. There are scheduled calls, and because we are living in 2 different countries, I kind of know around about the time, even if she does spontaneously call me, I do know when that will be. So there is this level of certainty. It does remove, just the uncertainty that can come with in-person relationships. Sometimes when you are communicating through voice, phone calls, text messages, it does remove a sensory element to it and kind of gives you a little bit more space to kind of think. So definitely for me, I love deep conversations. I'm such a words girl, but there's definitely less sensory overwhelm that definitely is there with constant in-person interactions, I suppose. Not only that, but I notice that there's a bit of recharge time. Once you get off that phone call, you are once again on your own, and you can kind of process the conversation and process your thoughts and kind of get on with your life a little bit more. You're not as glued to the person that you're with, which sucks, but you're also not like absorbing their energy either. You're able to regulate yourself, and this is a lot more stabilizing for sure. The only downside is that like I can definitely spiral when I'm on my own, particularly if there was like a conversation that wasn't exactly perfect because they're not with me. I can definitely spiral a little bit more. There's also a deep connection that comes with long distance. As I was touching on previously, I'm such a words of affirmation girl. And so when you have these intentional dates, intentional phone calls, intentional video calls, everything has to be intentional. How many times can I say that word? You are, I think, able to feel someone's care and attentiveness a little bit more, only if that other person is putting in just as much effort as as you are. I don't think we're as focused on proximity as autistic people because it really doesn't matter. We can feel just as connected to someone on the other side of the world if we are feeling like they are giving to this dynamic as much as we are. So what are the positives of long distance relationship? Well, you definitely learn to trust one another. It is built in effort and consistency. And so that is a really true way of really trusting your partner, because by the time that you do eventually close that distance and you have gotten through this time apart, you can really know and depend on this person that they have your best interest at heart because they have prioritized you throughout this duration of long distance. There's less pressure to perform socially every single day, maybe even sexually. If you are someone that is less drawn to the physical sides of the relationship, then there is less pressure that comes with that. As I said before, there is a stronger focus on emotional intimacy, which is oftentimes bigger for autistic people. There's an element of long distance relationships that can align with your special interests, sharing different media, sharing your hobbies, gaming, that type of thing. You're able to still kind of access that if you are doing long distance. That is something that I am wanting to get into a little bit more, is like gaming with my partner and kind of sharing that as a date night as well. There's obviously many challenges that come with long distance relationships. There is still that sensory absence. You cannot touch the person. You cannot feel the closeness with that person. You are not able to get the comfort from their presence that a lot of our partners can provide for us. There's a lot of uncertainty that comes with long distance, particularly if you don't put those plans in place preemptively. So if you haven't booked a flight or you don't know when you're going to see the person, that's uncertainty. If you don't know when you're going to close that gap, that is uncertainty. If you don't know when you're going to have your next really in-depth chat, or you don't know when you're going to feel really connected to them the next time, that is uncertainty. There's a routine disruption that comes, particularly if your partner is in another country to you. You're in different time zones, different routines. So for me and my partner, I wake up and she has gone through most of her day. And so I am someone that loves the nighttime. I feel the most me when I am up late at night. But I am now having to become a little bit of an early bird so that I can have a longer amount of my day spent texting her or talking to her than if I was to, sleep and I would only have a few hours. There can also be inconsistent schedules if your schedules don't align with each other. And finally, I think the biggest one for autistic people is there's a lot of anxiety and overthinking that comes with long distance because you don't have the immediate verification of different thoughts, anxious thoughts that you might be having. You can't just go into the next room and ask your partner what they meant by this, how are they feeling today. Like, you can't get that kind of self-soothing in the moment from them, so you have to give it to yourself, and that can be really anxiety provoking and definitely one that I struggle with. I have watched so much content around long distance relationships, and I would say for the most part they have been made by creators who are neurotypical, and so their experiences don't often reflect mine, and I feel like they come from a really happy, optimistic point of view, and I think that's great. I think that's definitely a lot of people's experiences, but it's not mine. I want to kind of talk a little bit about my experiences, my challenges, my faults, my struggles within the relationship that I am in. I think the first one that comes to mind for me is when there is a disruption to our communication routine. So I am typically kind of used to us texting throughout the day as long as she is awake, and then we might have a phone call if we have discussed it previously. And if for some reason she can't make that phone call that we initially agreed on, or her communication throughout the day has changed a little bit with her schooling, then I suddenly feel really uncertain. Then I'm like, oh, our connection isn't as good as I think it is, and there's a lot of spiraling and overthinking, and it's definitely not rooted in truth of our dynamic. It is just that there has been a change to what I thought would be happening, and so my nervous system is spiking up and saying, like, there's danger, be alert. It's not that things are going wrong, it's just that things have changed from what I thought was happening. I just need to remind myself of that one in this moment. I've also really struggled to find satisfaction in video calls and phone calls, and even the dates that we kind of set up with each other, and we try and make it as romantic as possible. You know, the other weekend she was able to order me food on Uber Eats and get it delivered to my house, and it was like she was able to buy me food. And I always feel a level of emptiness around these interactions, and I have felt really bad about this. But the truth is, there's always going to be a level of emptiness to your long distance dates, phone calls, whatever, because they're not actually with you. You're missing a really big part, and that is they're not there. Before I allowed myself to feel this, I guess, allowance of feeling, is what I am trying to say. Before I allowed it to be there, allowing the disappointment to be there, I was wanting more from her, a bigger declaration of love, more gestures, her telling me how much she loved me, her telling me how much she missed me, and I wanted the space to be filled in with all these big things, because I felt maybe subconsciously that the more she was able to comply, that feels like the wrong word, but I suppose comply with my love language, then it would remove some of this emptiness that I was feeling from our long distance. But the truth is, nothing is going to make me feel that until I am, for one, reunited with her, and two, I have to give that to myself in person, because I am here with myself. I can give myself that while she can't. I've also had to remind myself that maintaining a connection doesn't always look like these big, grand gestures of love. It doesn't look like her, throwing her schooling life away because she misses me so much and she just needs to return back to me. Sometimes it looks like the quiet, slow moments that you share together. And that's a big part of love that I'm having to remind myself, I think, that I don't really know what healthy love is, and I'm trying to learn that with her. And so I'm trying to learn that with her being 8 hours away by plane. There's always a fear that what we're doing right now is not going to lead to anywhere, that it's not going to work out, and that has come through my fear of uncertainty and my inability to sit with uncertainty. I think for a lot of it, I perhaps measure her love as to whether I'm filtering that through a lens as to whether we are going to withstand through the test of time. And I'm not telling you guys any of this to be like, look, I'm really struggling in my relationship because I'm really thriving with this person who's allowing me to grow. But I'm definitely noticing that within this dynamic, where my autism is perhaps causing me a lot more challenges than it might for others. In these moments that I might be spiraling, I have this little script that I say to myself, so I'm just going to read it here off my computer, and it just says, I am here in this moment. I don't need to figure out the entire future right now. My brain loves to run ahead and warn me of what might happen, but that is not today. Today I am safe. Today I am in love, and she loves me. That is real and enough for right now. The future is not something I have to solve in this moment. When hard times come, we will face them together, and if we need to, we will learn as we go. I can come back to love. I can come back to now. And that's just like something that I read to myself when my mind likes to run away with itself. So now I want to give you guys some tips on how to care for your significant other based on their love languages from a neurodivergent perspective. With words of affirmation, this can look like daily check-ins, love letters, or voice notes. Voice notes is a big one for me. Quality time can look like video chatting, maybe planning video gaming dates, maybe the ordering food idea, or watching the same show or movie simultaneously. We are currently doing it over, I think it's Google Meetings, or Teleparty is another one. Acts of service can also look like sending care packages, helping with any online tasks, that type of thing. My girlfriend has ADHD, and so I always try and offer if she wants someone to body double her, which is basically being on video chat when she needs to complete tasks, and she can be a lot more productive if someone is there with her. Gifts, this might look like packages in the mail. It might be a shared playlist or a dedicated playlist to the person, or it might be a digital gift. Obviously, physical touch is a lot harder when you are long distance, so you've got to kind of get creative here. This might be, weighted items, sensory things that make you feel like you're close to them. So wearing their clothes, sending your shirt in the mail and receiving their shirt in the mail and wearing that together. I have a squishmallow that I got given from my partner, and I keep her very close to me when I sleep, and so it feels like, I'm sleeping with her. So definitely, if you are spiraling within your relationship, within your long distance relationship, there are kind of key things that you should be doing in order to not put all the burden on the other person and to maintain a bit of harmony within your relationship. Naming the spiral. So for me, I like to say, this is my brain trying to fill in the gaps. It's trying to find certainty, but it's not the truth. And I know that it feels like it, but it's not. Create some kind of certainty anchors. Check in with each other about when you can call and when you can have a date, and so you can see when you're actually going to be able to talk to your person. And that goes into my next point, which is using visual timelines. So I actually have my diary right here, and this kind of allows for me to see when I'm going to be talking to her next visually. Doesn't let my mind spiral as much because I can see, right, tomorrow I'm going to be talking to her. And then I also have the visual of when I'm actually going to be seeing her, and that keeps me going. For a lot of us who overthink, I would really recommend to ask and don't assume. So simple, kind check-ins like, hey, I just wanted to clarify what you meant when you said this. I just wanted to make sure that we're good. It can be really easy to fill in the blanks with your own uncertainty, with your own anxious mind, and particularly if you don't have the other person to verify what you're thinking, you can kind of run with your own narratives. So always communicate and always kind of put it out there. Give the person the benefit of the doubt. Communicate your needs in advance. So this is definitely one that I have had to kind of implement a little bit more in my relationship, kind of telling my girlfriend what works for me. We are working on 2 different time zones, and I would rather know upfront as soon as I wake up whether she thinks that she can manage a phone call at some point in the day. And knowing this takes away the uncertainty of aren't we going to call. Tell your partner what you need, because they aren't mind readers as much as we want them to be. Anchor in the present. It can be really easy for us in long distance relationships to always be living in another time period, whether that be when we were with them, how good it was, or whether that is, in the future, when that day finally comes that we get to be reunited with them. And I really encourage you guys to really anchor in where you are right now and how connected you can feel with them in this moment. Like I said, I find it really hard to, feel fulfilled by a phone call, but readjusting my mindset to the fact, look, they made the time to actually take a phone call with me, and we had a laugh together, and that felt really good. Those are constant reminders that I have to kind of anchor myself in with, rather than going, I would rather that she was here with me right now, so everything else doesn't even feel good. Finally, I want to say reframe the distance. It can be really easy to kind of feel really sorry for yourselves. I know I've done that. And to kind of think everyone else has got it so easy, all we want is the bare minimum, we just want to be together. And all of those things can be true, but at the same time, you get this time in your relationship to really work on yourselves, to get your life, your individual life, up to the standard that you want it to be before you are together, before you are reunited and you get to start building your life together. You know, you get to have this time of building trust and deep, intense, intentional communication. And not a lot of people actually get that in their relationship. And so I think that there are a lot of blessings that come with long distance. And like me and my girlfriend always say, if we can get through this, we can get through anything. And so we're just taking it a day at a time, and that's what you honestly have to do. So that is my advice for you as someone who is neurodivergent and in a long distance relationship. I hope this kind of gave you a little bit of insight, and my heart goes out to every single one of you who just want to be with the person you love. I get it, I understand. But in the meantime, if you are looking to fill in your life a little bit more, find a little bit more of a community, I host weekly 1-hour sessions on the platform Share Well, all about, different autistic experiences, and I'm kind of building a little community over there. It's really, really exciting. So I will drop the link to the session down below if you guys would love to join. Otherwise, my social medias are always linked down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope it was helpful, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye. Mwah.